Welcome to episode 20 of the ASKJV Podcast. Today we are talking about consistency from track to track on an album, EQing in Mono, how and why to do it, and the Steven Slate mix rack plugins.
3, 2, 1. This is the ASKJV Show.
Our first question comes from Austin. My question is, when you're mixing an album, how do you make sure that every song is consistent as far as getting the right balances and keeping the drum sounds and guitar sounds consistent from song to song? Or do you just try to get the right tones and balances for the particular song and not really try to get every song to be the same as far as instrument tones and balance? I've got a solo album that I'm currently writing material for, and I'm noticing that it's difficult to make each song sound the same as far as the balance and tones go, and just general quality.
A lot of that consistency on an album can be determined by the tracking stage too. So, who's recording it, where it's being recorded, the instruments being used, etc. But you asked specifically about mixing, so I'll speak to that. It's pretty simple for me. If I'm mixing a record and all the songs are going to be, basically sound the same, they're all recorded with the same drums, the same amps, all that stuff. Then I just use the import session data function in Pro Tools. So once I'm finished mixing the first song or the first one or two songs and I'm happy with the overall sound, I will just load up the next song and then import all of the plugin chains, the plugin settings, sends, effects, track volumes, pan settings, all that stuff. It's very easy to just drop into the next song, matching track by track. So I'll do that, then I'll clear all the automation that I've done, and then work from there. And of course, each song kind of has its own unique quirks, I guess. So then, of course, I'll go through and just tweak a little bit here and there, depending on what the song has to offer. But that's pretty much it, and that allows you to really quickly get at least the same core vibe, the same core sounds from song to song. I would say I try not to worry about it too much, because when you think of major pop and pop rock records these days, a lot of times every song is mixed and tracked by a different person. Yet on a whole album, it still sounds good. So it's kind of cool to have the variance from song to song. Often, if I'm producing and engineering a record, I like to try different amps for different songs and different snare drums and stuff like that are tailored specifically to those songs. And then in the mixing stage, I'll definitely make sure to treat all those things uniquely too. So it's obviously a balancing act. It depends on a lot on the genre and the band and everything. If you are having different sounds from song to song on a record, make sure you find a good mastering engineer who's going to be able to tie that all together for you. On our interview with Troy Glessner a few episodes ago, he talked a lot about how he tries to find that common thread on an album, that goes throughout all the songs, and try to really make sure that shines through on every song, so that even if there is a big range of styles on the album, it's gonna sound cohesive and sound like one solid unit. So definitely check out that interview if you haven't already, and find a good mastering engineer if you're having a lot of different styles from song to song on a record.
This question comes from Dan. I was wondering if you could elaborate on your process for EQing in mono. For example, things you're listening for, percentage of time spent during the mix in mono. Do you listen to references in mono, etc.?
So I pretty much only listen in mono when I'm doing my EQ. And the reason that's useful is because it kind of removes the separation of panning. So let's say you have tracks that are panned out left and right and center. Just having them in different spaces in the stereo field gives them separation, right? But when you flip it into mono, they're all of a sudden all stacked on top of each other, and that really forces you to see where different instruments are masking each other and different frequencies are covering other instruments up, etc. So that's why EQing in mono is useful, especially for lead guitars, for vocals. I mean, really anything. It's really gonna again take away almost the artificial separation of panning, and then force you to find the frequencies that are fighting each other. So, for example, I'll often find some strange frequencies to boost on like synth tracks or pianos or keyboard tracks by EQing in mono. So when I put it all stack on top of each other in mono, let's say I have a bunch of heavy guitars and vocals and heavy drums, and they're all really focused in the mids and upper mid range and very bright and everything, and I'm trying to fit in a piano in there. Well, sometimes I'll put it in mono and then start, put a little boost on an EQ and start moving it around in the frequency spectrum and try to find somewhere that it helps it stand out from the mix without clouding anything else up. And sometimes that can be kind of a weird frequency that you would never consider boosting otherwise, like maybe 700 hertz on a piano in the context of a rock mix, just gives it its own space and it stands out and you can hear everything and it doesn't cloud up the guitars at all. So that's an example of mixing in mono being really helpful. And same with, helping your vocals to stand out from the heavy guitars and everything, since a lot of the frequency ranges, especially where you're boosting, are going to be similar. So again, it really just helps you. It forces you to really make sure that the frequency balance across your whole mix is done well and that you're not masking stuff. And the last part of your question, no, I don't really listen to reference mixes in mono because, again, I'm only EQing in mono. I'm not doing a whole bunch of other stuff in mono. So it's really just for that one specific purpose, and that's how I use it.
Our last question comes from Adam. Hey man, I noticed you looked at the Slate plugins. What's your opinion on everything? Specifically more the modules on the virtual mix rack.
Yeah, I did recently get the Slate plugins. I haven't used them a whole lot so far, and the reason is simply because I like to mix quickly. I like to not fiddle around with plugins and gear that much. I just like to load things up fast and just go with my gut. And so whenever I get a new plugin or set of plugins, it takes kind of a while to introduce that into my workflow because I get easily frustrated by trying to learn a new plugin and stuff like that. So I have been using them in some mixes recently, and I'm basically trying to compare them to the Waves versions of some of the same things, of the 1176s and the SSL channels and stuff like that. So again, yeah, it's going to take me a little bit of time to really figure out my final verdict on those, but so far so good. I mean, they sound pretty similar to the other versions of those hardware units that I've used, the Waves and other emulations. And then they've got some other cool features as well. And I also got the tape saturating plugins and the virtual bus compressors, I think it's called. So I'm testing all those out as well, but it's going to take a little bit of time, but hopefully soon I will have a verdict on those plugins. But so far so good. I would definitely recommend them if you're looking for some plugins. All right, that's it this week, just short and sweet. As always, if you've got questions you want me to answer on this show, I love doing it. Just go to AskJVPod.com, submit your questions there, and we'll do our best to get it in the queue and get it answered for you. If you're not on my mailing list and maybe you're just discovering this for the first time, go to hardcoremusicstudio.com, grab my free mixing cheat sheet, and then you'll be on my mailing list, and I'll send out all my best content there and all future updates and stuff, new stuff that I'm doing and everything. So thanks for watching or listening again, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.